Hello everyone, in the previous video where we discussed what's better, Vandal or Phantom, I touched upon the topic of the first armor, specifically the new meta with the first armor. Many of you ask me, both in the comments and during my streams, why I rarely buy the second armor, so today I will tell you why you should consider not spending money on buying the second armor, at least in some rounds. Is it truly an economic loophole from Riot, or is it not as simple as it seems at first glance? So let's find out this right now. And we're gonna start with the basics. Why buy the first armor at all? Isn't it only meant to be buffed during forced buy rounds so that you have some minimal protection while saving money for a full buy? The most obvious and in fact the main advantage is of course saving money. Over 11 rounds, excluding the pistol round, you can save 6600 credits, but that's a rough estimate because there will be rounds where you still need the second armor, and that's where we'll dive into the numbers. When playing against opponents with a full buy, you'll mostly engage gunfights against Phantom or Vandal. With the Vandal it's straightforward, it always deals the same damage and your opponent will either need to hit you in the head once or hit you 4 times in the body. The only difference is that if they hit you 3 times in the body, without second armor you'll left with 5 HP and with the second armor you'll leave with 30 HP. In any case, you'll be 1 bullet away from being eliminated by any other weapon. The only thing that becomes more dangerous for you is grenades, but I believe with such low HP it won't have a significant impact. Therefore, against a Vandal, the small armor will always be sufficient. In fact, this practice originates from CSGO, where counter-terrorist players would buy the first armor only to avoid being aim-punched, since attacking side would one-shot them anyway with the AK. So when the economy is tight, they opt for the first armor. It works the same way in the Valorant. If we talk about the Phantom, the situation is indeed different. You can be one-shot in the head from a distance of up to 30 meters, and it will take 4 bullets to the body at that range, instead of 5 with the second armor. At a distance of up to 50 meters, 4 bullets will be enough, and at a distance over 30 meters it will still require 5 bullets. However, consider this, the Phantom is often used by sentinels. For example, when you attack inside, you inevitably pass through wiper wall, potentially get hit by killjoy nanoswarm, step on a molotov or take damage from any other ability even before reaching the site. Will what I mentioned earlier have such a significant impact then? The numbers indeed indicate that the Phantom will be much stronger against players with the first armor, and that's true. However, the Phantom is less popular, and as I mentioned before, it's often used when armor doesn't matter so much, so for example at close distances. Nevertheless, while testing the first armor meta, I've been one-shotted by Phantom from long distances multiple times, simply because they dealt 140 damage and instantly killed me. But essentially, it can be imagined that if the opponent had a Vandal, nothing would have changed. We can also consider the Bulldog and Guardian in this context. When using the Bulldog, again, there is no difference at all. Whether it's the first or second armor, you still need to hit the head and body to get a kill. As for the Guardian, there will be an advantage in that it will only take 2 body shots to eliminate you. However, your opponent won't be 100% certain that you have the first armor, so they will still try to aim for the head regardless. So it's not much of an advantage in that sense. And well, the operator doesn't make any difference either. It won't kill you by hitting your legs in both cases, except for rare instances where wall bangs might one-shot you when you're using the first armor. Now let's look at other situations where the first armor is clearly insufficient. Let's say you win the pistol round, but your opponents were able to plant the spike. In such a case, there is a high probability that they will buy the first armor and either a Stinger or Spectre, or something else, maybe the Sheriff. With the Sheriff and the first armor, you'll get one shot, as it essentially becomes a chamber pistol. With the Spectre, it will take 2 headshots within a range of 30 meters to kill you. The same goes for the Stinger. It is primarily used at the close distances, and within 50 meters 2 bullets will be enough to kill an opponent with the first armor. By the way, it's much easier to deal 125 damage with a shorty than 150 in a single shot. So in conclusion, if your opponent is on an eco round, it's better to buy a second armor. The most important thing is to avoid overspending credits. If you buy the first armor in one round and it remains intact, and then in the next round you buy the second armor just because your opponent has a weak buy, you'll spend 1400 credits and there will be no benefits to that. Instead, you will end up in a deficit. That's why it's crucial to look ahead and understand how much money your opponents will have, not only in case of victory but also in case of defeat, to avoid losing the economic battle. As a preliminary conclusion, it can be said that it's unlikely to reap the full benefit of 6600 credits unless you'll intentionally do so. But risk won't justify itself in the most rounds. I would sum up it by saying that you should play at least 6 rounds out of the half using the first armor to achieve a benefit of 3600 credits, which will grant you an additional full buy with the Phantom and the light armor or Vandal, whatever you're playing. A good example is the team Fnatic. Currently they're competing in the league with this score, and there are not just map statistics but match statistics. So I believe it's worth watching their gameplay and extracting something useful for yourself. For example, let's take a look at their latest game at the time of creating the video, which was against Carmine Corporation. As you can see, Fnatic started on the attack side, and after winning the pistol round they didn't even buy the second armor because all they needed to be cautious of is the opponent's sheriffs and right-click classic shots. Then they continued buying the first armor and lost 2 rounds in a row. On the third round they were on an eco and it looked like this. The final score of the match was 13-10, and to give you an understanding, this eco round was actually their worst buy, all because of their effective use of funds. At this stage Fnatic's economy became more stronger and they were able to afford buying the second armor. Here I can propose 2 theories. The first one is that as soon as they reach the benefit of 3600 credits for a half of the first armor, they start buying the second armor. However, this logic won't always apply, so in reality I believe it's much simpler. They buy the second armor only if they have 3500 credits remaining after the purchase, because this amount will guarantee a buy in the next round and more likely even in the subsequent one. Plus they buy the second armor when it won't affect their buy in the next round. For example, when there are 2 or 3 rounds left in the game and they have around 7000 credits, which means they will have full buys until the end of the game. This example is from the round 10. They lost the previous one, but they still buy the second armor because they know that they will have money in the round number 11, and even if they lose it, they will have money for the 12th round because the loss bonus will be higher. The same applies to the defense side, starting with the first armor, and as soon as their money exceeded to 3500 credits, they start buying the second level of armor. And finally, some examples from my own games. Here is a typical game. Let's count how many situations where armor could have made a difference. I took 175 damage here. Essentially the second armor would have saved me from the first shot, but immediately a second shot came in. I didn't even have a time to react, so the loss was due to positioning. And the second example is the same, but I got killed from behind. Again, the armor didn't make any difference here. In this situation I made a couple of kills, took damage from a Vandal, then from a Phantom, and the second armor wouldn't have changed anything. The death was simply because I misclicked on my dash ability. In this case I took 70 damage, 30 of which was from the dog, and in the end I received a total of 150 damage in the round, but I had the first armor, so the second one wouldn't have made a difference here either. Round number 23, just 200 damage, whether it's the first or second armor, it doesn't matter since I was killed by a Vandal. The same goes for the round number 4. Here it was a pistol round, so we won't consider this. Let's go on. Headshot, instant death in 4 of these rounds. Again, the second armor wouldn't have saved me. And here I got burnt in a Molotov, so if I had 25 more HP, I would have killed by a single bullet at the end anyway. So it turns out that throughout the entire game there wasn't a single situation where the second armor would have made a difference. You could say it was just a random game, but no, this happens almost always. There are of course some isolated moments, but they occur so rarely with proper gameplay that the risk is worth it. And again, the risk is minimal. I hope now you'll manage your economy better and avoid spending on the second armor whether it's not needed, because additional buys and almost no eco rounds give you a greater chance of winning. Thank you so much for watching till the end. See you soon. Bye bye.